before anyone jumps to conclusions. No, this isn't some wild internet hoax, or maybe it was someone who looked like her situation. I wish it were that simple. I'm still trying to process everything, and I honestly don't know if I'll ever be the same after what I found. This all started because I couldn't let go. Everyone else did. The cops, my parents, even the private investigator we hired. But I couldn't. Something in me refused to accept that she was gone. My sister, Lily, disappeared when she was 17. It was a Friday night in late September. She'd gone to a friend's house after school and never came home. Back then, I was 19, fresh out of high school, working part-time at a car wash and trying to save for community college. When the cops first got involved, they said she probably ran away. Teenage girls do that sometimes. One of them told me like he was talking about a missing cat. But I knew Lily. She wasn't the type to just vanish. She was smart, responsible, a little rebellious, but grounded. The kind of girl who made playlists for every mood and stayed up late watching documentaries about space. She'd been weirdly quiet the week before she disappeared, though. I remember asking if she was okay, and she brushed me off with, "Yeah, just tired." That was the last real conversation we had. The search lasted about 2 months before it fizzled out. There were posters, vigils, a few news stories, then silence. After that, our family just fell apart. Mom started drinking heavily. Dad threw himself into work, and I couldn't look at any of them without feeling like we'd failed her. Years went by. I moved states, got a degree in digital forensics. Yeah, partly because of her, and built a quiet life in Denver. I'd stopped talking about Lily to most people because no one wanted to hear about the one that got away. I'd occasionally search online for new leads or unsolved cases that matched her description, but it was more of a ritual than hope. That changed 3 months ago. It started with a Facebook suggestion, one of those people you may know things. The face stopped me cold. The woman looked almost identical to Lily, except older, maybe early 30s, with shorter hair and a different name, Riley Thompson. The resemblance was so uncanny that I literally said her name out loud. Lily. I clicked the profile. It wasn't private. She had posts about her small business, something like a handmade candle shop, and pictures with locals in this tiny town in Oregon called Maple Falls. I spent hours scrolling, zooming in on photos, trying to convince myself it wasn't just my grief playing tricks again. But then I saw the birthmark. It was small, under her left ear, barely noticeable, but I'd know it anywhere. She used to joke it looked like a tiny comet. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything in my head. What if she'd faked her death? What if she'd been kidnapped and somehow escaped? I messaged the account, something simple. "Hey, this might sound weird, but you look like someone I used to know. Do you have a sister named Noah?" "Yeah, that's me." She didn't reply. The next morning, the message was gone. Deleted. Not just that, the profile vanished. No trace. Like it never existed. That's when something in me snapped. I booked a week off work, packed a bag, and drove to Oregon. Maple Falls wasn't on most maps. A quiet, forested town with one gas station, a diner, and a couple of stores. The kind of place that felt suspended in time. I showed the photo I'd saved to a waitress at the diner and asked if she knew her. She frowned and said, "Oh, you mean Riley?" "Yeah, she runs the candle shop near the river. Sweet girl. Just moved here." Well, actually, a few years back. My hands went cold. I went straight there. The shop was small, tucked between a thrift store and an old record place. The sign said Riverlight. I stood outside for a few minutes, just staring through the glass, my heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything. She was there, arranging jars on a shelf, humming softly. It was her. Same face, same hands, same small habit of brushing her hair behind her ear when she focused. I opened the door, and the bell chimed. She turned. Our eyes met. For a second, it was like time folded. Her mouth parted slightly, like she recognized me too, but then her expression shifted. Confusion, then fear. "Can I help you?" she said, her voice steady but cautious. I couldn't breathe. "Lily, it's me. It's Noah." She froze. Her eyes darted toward the back door, and that's when I realized something was really wrong. She whispered, "You shouldn't be here." Before I could say anything else, a man stepped out from the back room. Tall, mid-40s, wearing an apron. He looked between us, and I swear, his whole body tensed. "What's going on?" he asked sharply. Lily, or Riley, whatever she was calling herself, shook her head quickly. "Nothing. He's just lost." Then she turned to me. eyes pleading. Please leave. Don't come back. I just stood there, stunned. She didn't sound like someone scared of being found. She sounded like someone protecting something. Or someone. I left because I didn't know what else to do. But that night, sitting in my car outside the motel, I made a decision. I wasn't leaving until I found out why my sister, who the world believed dead for 15 years, was alive under a fake name in a nowhere town, and terrified of me finding her. And what I discovered next made me wish I'd never gone there in the first place. The next morning, I woke up in that crappy roadside motel with this pounding mix of dread and adrenaline. I didn't even brush my teeth before pulling out my laptop and digging deeper. Riley Thompson, Maple Falls, Oregon. I searched her business license, local records, anything that could prove who she really was. There was a listing, registered 5 years ago. Same name, same shop. Owner's date of birth, February 4th, 1991. That was Lily's exact birthday. I just sat there staring at the screen, the cheap air conditioner buzzing behind me, my chest tightening. If this was a coincidence, it was a cruel one. I knew it wasn't. She'd built an entire life here, under another name. And now she was pretending not to know me. I went back to the shop around noon. It was closed. Lights off. Be back tomorrow sign flipped on the door. Tomorrow, my ass. Someone didn't want to be found. I walked around to the back alley, where her car was parked, a blue Subaru with Oregon plates. It was dusty but well kept, with a kid's booster seat in the back. My stomach dropped. A kid. That explained the fear in her eyes. Maybe she had a family now. Maybe she didn't want them knowing about her past. Or maybe she was hiding from someone who still had a hold on her. I sat in my car for hours watching the shop from across the street, feeling like the worst kind of stalker. I just wanted to understand. Around 4 p.m., the same guy from yesterday walked out, locking the door behind him. He didn't notice me. He looked like your standard small-town dude. Plaid shirt, beard, probably worked with his hands. But something about him felt controlled, like he was performing normal. I followed him, slowly, careful not to get noticed. He went to the diner, talked to the waitress for a bit, then got into his truck and drove toward the outskirts of town. I trailed behind just far enough not to draw attention. He pulled into a small, secluded house surrounded by trees. 2 stories, white porch, toys scattered in the yard. My chest ached. Lily lived there. I parked down the road and just sat there, staring. The curtain upstairs moved slightly. A shadow, someone watching. I didn't know if it was her or him. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept seeing her face. The way she looked at me, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. I ran through every scenario. Witness protection, cult escape, abusive ex, trafficking survivor. My brain spiraled through them all. The next day, I went back into town pretending to be a tourist. I sat at the diner counter, ordered coffee, and made small talk with the waitress again. That candle shop lady, Riley. She's new around here, right? The waitress shrugged. Been here a while. But yeah, no one really knows much about her. Keeps to herself. Nice though. Has a little boy, sweet kid. You looking for her or something? I lied. Nah, she just looks like someone I used to know. When I said that, the cook behind the counter glanced up for a second. Not curiosity, more like recognition. Like he'd heard something before. When I met his eyes, he looked away. I left some cash on the counter and stepped outside. Something in this town was off. Not in a horror movie way. In that quiet, suffocating way where everyone seems to know something but won't say it out loud. That afternoon, I parked near her house again, this time further away. Around 5, I saw her walking up the driveway holding a little boy's hand. He was maybe 6, with messy brown hair, and he looked like her. Like us. Like me. My throat closed up. She had a kid. My nephew. They went inside, and I sat there shaking. I didn't know whether to cry or get out and knock on the damn door. But I remembered her words. You shouldn't be here. The fear in them. So I waited. Around 8 p.m., the lights inside dimmed. I got out of the car and walked closer. I just wanted to see her again, maybe get a glimpse of her life. But when I stepped near the porch, the sound of gravel crunching made me freeze. The man, her husband, or whatever, was standing there in the dark, holding a flashlight. He pointed it at me. You lost. I blinked, caught off guard. Yeah, sorry. I thought this road looped back to the main highway. My bad. He didn't smile. Didn't move. Just stared at me for a beat too long. Then, it doesn't. You should head back the way you came. His tone wasn't threatening. It was final, like a warning. I mumbled something and turned away, heart hammering. As I walked, I heard the crunch of gravel again, slow, deliberate. He was making sure I left. Back in my motel, I finally searched his name. Took some effort. Property records, business listings, small-town newsletters. His name was Eric Dalton. Married to Riley Thompson, 5 years. Kid named Evan. Except here's the thing. There's no marriage certificate. No birth record for Evan. Nothing before 2018. Like they just appeared out of nowhere. And then, the part that made my blood run cold. I found an old missing persons forum post from 2011 mentioning a guy named Eric Dalton wanted for questioning in a domestic abuse case in Idaho. No arrest. Just disappeared. So now my sister, who's supposed to be dead, is living under a fake name with a man who vanished years ago. That's when I realized this wasn't just about her hiding from me. She was hiding from something bigger. And I had no idea yet just how deep this went, or how much danger I was in just by looking for her. I woke up the next morning with this sick feeling in my gut. I'd gone to bed replaying his voice in my head. Calm, almost polite, but with that undertone that said, "Get the hell out before you make this worse for yourself." I wasn't sure if I was more scared for her or for me. But if I'd come this far, I wasn't about to back down. I needed to know what the hell was really going on. I started with Eric. I dug into every database I had access to, public records, archived news reports, even LinkedIn. The guy was a ghost. No online presence before 2018, no family connections, no social media. But I did find one weird thing. A car repair shop in Idaho that had gone out of business around the same year he disappeared. The old owner's name? Eric Dalton. The address matched the town from the domestic abuse case I'd found. My mind kept going back to Lily. What if she was a victim? What if she'd been taken by this guy back then, forced to build a new identity with him? That would explain the fear, the fake name, everything. But then why not run now? Why not call for help? I couldn't just storm in there without knowing the truth. So I came up with a plan that, in hindsight, was incredibly stupid. That night, I parked near the woods behind her house and waited until their lights went out. I didn't plan on doing anything reckless. I just wanted to look around, see if there were signs she wasn't there willingly. But as I crept closer, flashlight in hand, I noticed something strange. Behind the house, past the fence, was a shed. Nothing unusual, except for the heavy-duty lock on the door. Way too secure for lawn equipment. I moved closer, careful not to make noise. There were faint sounds coming from inside, like someone moving boxes. And then a voice. Her voice. She was whispering. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone, it wasn't scared. It was calm, focused. Then a man's voice responded. Not Eric's. Older, rougher. And what I heard next made me go still. He's here. I told you he wouldn't stop. A pause. Then the man said, "We'll handle it. Stick to the plan." My pulse was in my ears. They were talking about me. I backed away slowly, heart hammering so hard I thought it'd give me away. I ran through the trees, tripped over roots, scraped my hand, but didn't stop until I was back in my car. I just sat there, shaking. My sister wasn't a prisoner. She was involved. The next morning, I went to the sheriff's office. I told myself I'd report what I found, maybe get some background on the Daltons. But the moment I said Lily's name, the deputy behind the desk looked up, too quickly. "You said Riley Thompson, right?" he asked, his tone guarded. "Yeah," I said, "but that's not her real name. She's my sister. She went missing 15 years ago." He cut me off. "You might want to drop this, son." I stared at him. "Excuse me." He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Maple Falls is a quiet town. People come here to start over. Sometimes it's better to let sleeping dogs lie." That phrase, "start over," hit me like a punch. He knew something. "Is she in some kind of witness protection program?" I asked. He didn't answer, just looked at me for a long moment and said, "Go home, Noah. Whatever you think you're doing here, it won't end well." I left, furious and more confused than ever. On my way out, I noticed the bulletin board near the exit, flyers, missing pets, local events, and one old, yellowed newspaper clipping pinned behind a layer of newer papers. The headline was half torn off, but I could still read part of it. Federal operation in Idaho uncovers human trafficking ring. Multiple missing persons recovered. The date? 2011. The same year Lily disappeared. I felt dizzy. I peeled it off the board and took it to my car. There were no names in the visible part, but the article mentioned that several rescued victims had been relocated under protective measures. Holy shit, was that it? Had Lily been part of something like that? I drove back to the motel in a fog. Every memory I had of her started to twist in my head. Her quiet behavior before she vanished, her avoidance when I found her, even the way the sheriff reacted. What if she had been part of a trafficking case and was relocated for her safety? What if she wasn't supposed to exist anymore, and I just blew her cover wide open? By the time night fell, my nerves were shot. I packed my stuff, planning to leave first thing in the morning. I figured I'd write her a letter, leave it at the shop, and let her decide if she wanted to reach out. But she found me first. It was around 11 p.m. I was half asleep when someone knocked on my motel door. I jumped, grabbed my phone, and looked through the peephole. Lily. I opened the door, heart pounding. She stepped inside quickly, closed it behind her, and locked it. She looked terrified, but also exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. "You shouldn't have come here," she whispered. "I had to." "Lily, what's going on? Why are you pretending to be someone else?" She shook her head. "Don't call me that. Please. I know it's you." Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't deny it this time. "I can't talk long. They're watching." "Who?" I demanded. "Eric? That guy from the shed?" She pressed her hand to her mouth, shaking. "It's not what you think. I didn't run away. I was taken. But it's complicated. The people who did it, they're not gone." I felt like my chest was collapsing. "So why are you here with him?" "Because it's not safe anywhere else," she said, her voice breaking. "If they find out I talked to you." "Find out," I interrupted. "Lily, who are these people?" But before she could answer, headlights swept across the window. She froze. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He's here." She grabbed my hand, her grip cold and shaking. "If you care about me, leave town tonight. Don't tell anyone what you saw. And whatever happens, don't come back." Then she was gone, just like that. Out the door, into the dark. I stood there, shaking, staring at the empty doorway, wondering if I'd just imagined all of it. But the next morning, when I went to her shop, it was empty. Completely cleared out. Shelves bare, lights off. No sign it had ever existed. And that's when I realized she didn't vanish this time. She relocated. Again. And this time, I might have been the reason. I didn't drive out of Maple Falls that morning. I sat in my car outside the empty shop for what felt like hours, staring at the ghost of what used to be her life. The windows were covered with brown paper. The Riverlight sign had been pulled down. No forwarding address, no lease notice, nothing. It was like someone had come overnight and erased her existence. I walked to the back alley where her Subaru had been parked before. It was gone too. No tire marks, no trace. Even the trash bins were empty. Every part of me screamed that I should listen to her and leave. But I couldn't. Not yet. Not when I finally had proof she'd been alive all this time. I called the sheriff's office again, hoping maybe I'd get someone else on the line. A woman answered this time, same clipped tone as the guy before. When I asked about Riley Thompson, she paused a beat too long before saying, "No record of anyone by that name." I almost laughed. "Of course you don't," I said, voice cracking. "Because you people made sure of that." I hung up before she could respond. After that, I drove aimlessly around town. Every street felt suspicious. Every face looked like it knew something I didn't. When I passed the diner, the same waitress from before was outside smoking. She spotted me, and her smile faltered. I pulled over and asked, "Hey, what happened to Riley? The candle shop girl?" She dropped her cigarette, grinding it out with her shoe. "You should go, honey. Did she tell you she was leaving?" I pressed. Her jaw tightened. "People around here move on real quiet. That's just how it is." Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. By nightfall, I was exhausted, emotionally wrecked, and starving. I stopped at a small gas station on the edge of town to grab food and fill up before heading back toward the highway. The cashier was this old guy with a raspy voice who looked like he'd been there forever. When I handed him my card, he squinted at me. "You're not from around here," he said. "No, just passing through," I lied. He nodded slowly, then leaned forward. "If you're smart, you'll keep passing." I frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" He glanced around the empty store, then lowered his voice. "Maple Falls ain't what it looks like, son. People here come to disappear. You go digging too deep, you'll end up gone too." Something in his tone, calm, matter of fact, made my blood run cold. When I got back to my motel, there was an envelope slid under my door. No name, no return address. Just my room number scrawled in black ink. My heart almost stopped. I tore it open. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. It was me, sitting in my car outside Lily's house 2 nights ago. And on the back, written in tiny block letters, "Go home." I didn't even think. I grabbed my bag, threw everything in it, and ran out to my car. The parking lot was empty. Still, I could feel someone watching. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely get the key into the ignition. I drove until I hit the interstate, not stopping for miles. I didn't breathe properly until I was at a gas station 2 towns over. I sat there in the lot, staring at that photo. Someone had been close enough to take it. That meant they knew exactly who I was, what car I drove, where I'd been staying. I was in over my head. But back home, it got worse. 2 days after I returned to Denver, my apartment door was cracked open when I got home from work. Nothing stolen, nothing broken, but someone had been inside. The only thing missing was my laptop, the same one I'd used to dig into Lily's records. That's when the fear turned to something else. Realization. This wasn't random. Whoever she was hiding from, they knew she'd been found. And now they were making sure I didn't dig any deeper. I didn't go to the police at first. What would I even say? Hey, my dead sister's alive under a fake name and part of some shadowy relocation program. And someone sent me a creepy photo? It sounded insane. So I did what I always did. I researched. Harder. I started looking into federal witness protection programs tied to trafficking rings. Most info was redacted, but one case kept coming up. Operation Clearwater, 2011. The same year she vanished. It involved dismantling a trafficking network across Idaho and northern Oregon. According to archived reports, a handful of rescued victims were placed in protection under false identities. Their families were told they were dead. That detail hit me like a truck. Their families were told they were dead. I stared at my screen, heart racing. Could that have been what happened to Lily? Maybe she'd witnessed something, been part of something, and they needed to bury her identity completely. But if that were true, why contact me at all? Why come to the motel? Why warn me? Unless someone had found her again. I couldn't shake the image of that Polaroid. Whoever sent it didn't just want to scare me. They wanted me to know they could reach me anywhere. The next night, I got a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was distorted, like run through a filter. "Stop looking for her," it said. I froze. "Who is this?" "Stop," the voice repeated. "You've already done enough damage." And then it hung up. I sat there in the dark, shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. The next morning, I got an email from an untraceable address. No message body, just an attachment. It was another photo. Lily. No, Riley, standing outside a house that wasn't the one in Maple Falls. Somewhere new. She was holding her kid's hand, looking directly at the camera. And written across the bottom in red, "She's safe. Let her stay that way." That was 3 weeks ago. I haven't heard anything since. But every night, I keep wondering. If she's safe, why did she look so scared in that photo? And why do I feel like someone's still watching me, even now? For weeks after that last email, I tried convincing myself it was over. That maybe whoever sent that message was right. She was safe, and if I kept pushing, I'd only make things worse. But something about that picture kept me up every night. The way she was holding her son's hand too tight. The haunted look in her eyes. She wasn't free. She was contained. I started noticing things, small at first. A car parked across from my building for 3 nights in a row, always with someone sitting inside. A figure in a hoodie standing on the opposite sidewalk when I got home late. My mail started showing up already opened. I told myself I was being paranoid. Then one night, when I came home around midnight, my front door was unlocked again. Nothing was stolen, but there was something new on my kitchen counter. A candle, handmade, lavender scented, in a small glass jar, with a tiny label on the bottom that said Riverlight. It took me a few seconds to register it. Then my legs nearly gave out. I sat on the floor, staring at that candle like it might explode. It wasn't a coincidence. It was her. It had to be. But was it a warning or a message? I didn't light it. I just kept it beside me all night, trying to make sense of it. Was she reaching out? Or were the people controlling her trying to scare me off again? The next day, I called the only person I knew who might actually help. My old friend Evan, who works in cybersecurity for a private agency. He owed me a favor. I told him the basics, left out the crazier parts, but I sent him the email I'd gotten with that photo. He ran a deep trace. It took him 2 days to call me back. Whoever sent that, he said, used an encrypted proxy chain that bounces through government servers. This isn't your average scammer or stalker. It's someone with clearance. Government? I asked. Federal level, he said. You sure your sister isn't in some kind of protection program? My stomach turned. If she is, no one told me. He sighed. Then my advice? Stop digging. You're poking at something that doesn't want to be found. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But how do you just stop when the person you love most is out there, alive, trapped in some half-life you can't reach? A week later, I got another package. No return address, no postage, just left at my door again. Inside was a manila folder, newspaper clippings, police reports, all copies of things I tried to access online. Except these had names redacted with black bars, and a sticky note on top with one line in handwriting I'd recognize anywhere. Stop before they hurt you like they hurt me. It was hers. I don't know what hit me harder, the message itself or the realization that she was watching me, still trying to protect me, even now. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I called Mom for the first time in months. She's never been the same since Lily disappeared. Soft-spoken now, always careful, like her heart never healed. When I told her what I'd found, she went quiet for a long time. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. I always knew, she whispered. What do you mean you knew? The FBI came to our house 2 months after she went missing, Mom said. They told us she was gone, but not to talk to the media anymore. They said she was involved in something dangerous and that knowing more would put us at risk. You never told me. They made me sign something, Noah. A non-disclosure. I was terrified. I sat there in silence, listening to her cry softly on the other end. The world felt like it was tilting. All these years of grief, of guilt, and she'd known something. She wasn't allowed to tell me. After that call, I stopped sleeping altogether. Every creak in my apartment sounded like footsteps. Every shadow near my window made my pulse jump. I thought about getting out of Denver, starting over somewhere no one could find me, but deep down, I knew I'd never really be free from this. Then, about 2 weeks ago, I got a final message. No subject line, no text, just a link. It led to a live stream, a shaky video feed of a dimly lit room. Lily was there, sitting on the floor, arms around her son. She looked exhausted but alive. Her lips moved like she was whispering something to him. Then she looked straight at the camera, like she knew I was watching. She mouthed the words, "It's not safe," and then the feed cut off. I sat there frozen, staring at the blank screen. The timestamp showed it had been streamed only minutes earlier, but by the time I traced the IP, it was already scrubbed. Evan tried too. Same result. It's like it never existed, he said. Since then, nothing. No more emails. No packages. No cars outside. Just silence. Except a few nights ago, I got home late from work and found a small envelope wedged under my windshield wiper. Inside was another photo. Not Lily this time. Me again. Standing outside my office, looking down at my phone. Taken that same day. No note. No message. Just proof that whoever's behind this still knows exactly where I am. I've started sleeping with the lights on. I don't use social media anymore. My phone stays in airplane mode most of the time. I keep the candle on my desk, unopened. It's the only thing left of her that feels real. Sometimes I wonder if I should have let her stay gone. Maybe that's what she wanted. Maybe she was right. Maybe knowing the truth really does ruin everything. But if she's out there, trapped in some shadow of her own life, I can't just stop. Not completely, because if I've learned anything from this, it's that disappearance isn't always about running away. Sometimes it's about survival. And maybe, one day, when it's safe, she'll light another candle. One that means she's finally free. Until then, I wait. If you made it all the way to the end, thanks for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the story, consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. It helps me share more stories like this. Thanks.